that's why all groups, you know, love the Beatles. I mean, you know, it doesn't take very long if you like their music. It doesn't take very long. Do you think, well, they were this kind of band, and then really just a couple of years later, they were a completely different group, and their music is, for me anyway, as they go, becomes better and better and more expressive and more vulnerable and more real and more true to the way that they were. And it's no longer something that you make up in your mind. It's the way you live, it's the way your music is. And I think that's why we're always drawn to them, always reminded of them, because they probably didn't even know they were doing it. They were probably just saying, well, I like doing this better than I like doing that, and that made the difference. But if you're an artist or a musician and you want to go your own way, I mean, you have to. When you hear a group like the Beatles, they're almost telling you, do your thing, man. You know, if you don't do your thing, you'll destroy yourself, you know. And that's the thing that destroys all artists and all musicians, and especially groups that are successful anyway, is boredom. Is they feel as though we have to do this kind of music. This is what people know us for. And in the times that we've done that, it's been the worst times that we've had. It doesn't mean we made the worst music, but you feel like this is not where my energy and this is not where my imagination and this doesn't feel as cool. Now, sometimes we've made music that's felt really cool to us, but nobody likes it. And sometimes we've made music that didn't feel that cool to us and people love it. But somewhere in there is your life as you're doing it. And that, to me, is where makes all the difference. Makes us want to go and make another record and say, we can do this, we can do that. For us, I think it would be very boring if we had set some way of working for ourselves when we were in our 20s or whatever, and then we just felt like, well, we have to keep doing that now that we're in our 40s, and even for myself being in my 50s. And I think when we started to see these other artists and how they would evolve, I think it let us feel like we could explore those same sorts of things if we felt them. And I think we would have but I think that was part of the freedom of what we were able to. I think we're evolving through our art and through our music. It helps us evolve in our lives, and if we weren't able to do that in our art, we wouldn't evolve as people. And I think that's why it's compelling. It's true for all artists. It's true for all musicians. And if you resist that, or you stop yourselves, or you feel afraid to do that, it's part of your growth. It's part of your personality. And I think we veered towards these people who, for better or for worse, said, I don't care what happens to me. I'm going to say this. I want to do this. I want to make art and music that's like this. And because I think we're not that we're making music that's like theirs or is as important as theirs, but we think like that. We think when we're making it, it's important to us.
Well, I'm going back to what Wayne was saying. I think it's a good point. It's like, you get a band going and they just instantly form what they're supposed to do. I'm the drummer, you're the singer. We're gonna do this kind of music, and we're gonna do this. And after 10 years, like, I gotta go make some solo records because this is, this sucks for me. But I feel like with us, we are always at least trying to do anything just to see if it's something we want to do or if it makes us happy, and sometimes it fails and sometimes it's great, and now I sound like a douchebag. Lottie was really into Octopus's Garden for a little while, and after a while I was like, okay, I'll play it and I'll leave the room. So that's it. Octopus's Garden. I just can't think of anything that's like that I hate. Octopus's Garden?
There is a truism of music that you hear over and over and over, and it doesn't really matter if you like it.
Sorry, obla di obla da.
I agree. Those songs where it's like, why aren't you feeling as good as me? And if you don't, you're stupid. Yeah, it's like, let me be in my own world and not. But well, I mean, I don't think a group like Pink Floyd probably would have even been that considered to even make records back in the day if there wasn't a group like the Beatles that was already pushing pushing that stuff forward. So I think Pink Floyd and Syd Barrett and all of them would have deserved to make records, but I'm not sure back in the day that they would have thought this was record companies would have thought this was a record that should be made. I mean, the Beatles, luckily they were commercially successful enough that they could sort of shape shift the concerns of the people who were just trying to make a bunch of money. So I think probably initially a group like Pink Floyd was signed because they thought they're going to be popular and sell tons of records, and they made weird music. And now I think it's the same reason why even a group like the Velvet Underground made records, is that people thought, well, the kids like this kind of this poppy thing, but it's got like a sort of an underground vibe to it or something. And I think it's made some of the greatest music that's ever been made. But it's because of the influence of, it's not just because of the Beatles, but it's just a way that people started to think differently about what popular music could be. That's pop music. It's popular music.
Those four characters getting together when they did in the history of rock music, and having Brian Epstein, whatever, and then George Martin gets thrown in. It's just such a happy, lucky accident, that any four of those guys probably would have done something, some more than others, but there's no way that could have happened other than just complete pure chance,
No, the Beatles weren't just lucky. They were absolutely lucky, but they did a lot of other stuff that was not just luck. They tried hard. They were open to ideas. The thing that they liked to do, people loved it. And when you hear them sing, it's they're great singers, great lyric writers, and it's very evocative. And so
I think that since I've joined the Flaming Lips, and probably before that, the Flaming Lips have been going through a Beatles phase. So yeah,
covering a whole Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, people could assume that we're going through a Beatles phase, but I don't think it's true, really. I think we're very concentrated on this thing right now, but it's just really another thing that we're doing. It was more haphazard than you would think. We decided that we were going to do the Lennon set for the New Year's Eve thing, which really made us arrive at this version of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds that's now the one that's on the record, but became that's the one that we played when we were on the David Letterman show. And it made us think that we should consider doing the whole record really once we got, I think it was mostly Miley Cyrus involved. And once she was able to do a couple of the songs with us and we liked them and it pushed it ahead, I think that made us feel like, well, why don't we try to do the whole record? And once we had to decide that we were going to release the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, we had to set a release date for the rest of the record, which made us then put the rest of the record together, which we didn't have at all until then. So I know what it looks like isn't always the reasons and the inertia of why something's happening.
I've seen some things on the internet where people are like, how dare you? How do you how can you do better than Sgt. Pepper's? I think people misunderstand the whole point of that. It's not. We're not trying to make it better, or we think we could do a better version of the song. It's to get all these people involved, doing all these things together, that maybe something different will happen that would be something that wouldn't have happened otherwise. That's sort of my take on it, To get all these people, so many people involved with all these different songs. Not better, but just different. And man, there's just some people out there that fucking hate the idea of it so much.
I think we're clearly going to be done with the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Sgt. Pepper's stuff here pretty soon, and then we'll be doing another record, I hope.